This is, of course, the situation that we are bringing you after the breaking news this morning about that terrible bridge collapse. Emergency services are still tirelessly searching for 6 missing people in Baltimore. A cargo ship collided with the Francis Scott Key Bridge in the very early hours of this morning. The city has declared a state of emergency as divers have been scouring the freezing water in the hope of finding survivors. Thankfully, 2 people have been successfully rescued and taken to hospital for treatment. But how the ship managed to collide with the bridge remains pretty unclear. Reports now suggest the ship lost power and sent a mayday call just moments before the actual crash. I'm now joined by commercial shipping expert, Captain John Noble. John, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Yeah. I mean, I think we all awoke this morning to some quite unbelievable scenes. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a bridge collapse like that, and I've seen what happened in the San Francisco earthquake in 1989. You've never seen anything really like that, a bridge collapsing into the sea. Horrendous. And I suppose the only thing I could say is that it's a miracle that so few people were on it.
I think that's absolutely right. Unfortunately, the mayday the ship sent seems to have alerted the authorities who stopped traffic going onto the bridge. Yes. Otherwise, it would have been a lot worse.
Yes, exactly right. And I've heard various different experts talking through the course of today about how those bridges, that type of bridge, the way it's constructed, is quite precarious in the way that it's balanced and that it's not particularly strong if something slams into it. But it's a pretty unusual state of affairs, is it not, for a ship of this size to just lose power altogether?
Well, it is very rare indeed, but not unknown, unfortunately. And this ship seems to have lost its power just at the wrong time during its passage out.
Yes. And I mean, obviously there will be people investigating exactly what happened and how it could have happened. But tell us a little bit more about the bridge itself, if you can, in terms of, you know, what would have been its weak points. And as we see it collapsing there, I mean, I think most people who travel across bridges, and I've been to Baltimore many times, you don't expect to see that, really.
No, it seems to be, well, by modern standards, an unusual construction. If you look, for example, at the Forth Road bridges in the River Forth, they have substantial structure at the sea level, so that if a ship were to go into it, it would hit the concrete protection material before actually hitting the bridge. Right. And that there doesn't seem to be with this bridge any such protection to the structure of the bridge.
Yes. And so, I mean, questions are already being asked about the possibility of inadequate maintenance, the fact that it may have been designed badly, it may have been produced cheaply. I mean, as I say, I mean, I know that area quite well. I used to drive up and down I-95 from New York to Washington a fair deal. Yeah. And there's an awful lot of road bridges and an awful lot of rail bridges as well in that, because of the sort of the way the coastline sort of meanders down from north to south. And it does seem, does it not, that there will be questions asked of the designers apart from anything else. And if there are any other bridges designed like this, you know, where are they?
Well, I'm sure you're absolutely right in the sense that this will not be a unique design. It's knowing bridges in the United States, many of them are of a similar construction. And this bridge was clearly constructed, in my view, without the proper defense mechanism at the base of the bridge. So that if a ship was going to hit anything, it would hit the defence of the bridge, not the bridge itself.
Yes, and I understand it was built in 1977, and obviously this is now a good deal later in maritime senses as well as everything else. Ships are now bigger, ports are probably busier. Is it something that is policed around the world in terms of the way that shipping and waterways are policed? I mean, do you get regular checks on places like Baltimore as a busy shipping terminal to make sure that it's still suitable for what it's supposed to do?
Well, this would be a matter for each local authority or port authority. Different ports have different standards. Right. And to be honest, I don't know how the Baltimore area is governed by the US Coast Guard and the local authorities. But in general terms, take Singapore, for example, that port is strictly controlled by the Singapore Port Authority and traffic management schemes.
Yes. It is an extraordinary state of affairs. I mean, looking at the pictures sort of after the event, it seems as though the ship is almost bigger than the bridge. I mean, I know that's probably an optical illusion, but the size of these ships now, which are being sort of, you know, sent around the world and carrying some incredibly heavy materials, I mean, it must be a force to be reckoned with if it hits anything.
Absolutely. I mean, this, by modern standards, was not a very big container ship. It was 300 meters. Here in Southampton, we get the biggest container ships coming in, which are just under 400 meters, and they are 150 odd thousand tons. So, and I see them every day as I drive past. These are enormous structures. The one that hit the bridge was a few years old, so it was a previous generation, but it's still a big ship.
Absolutely right. And in general, I mean, I remember doing stories on the Forth Bridge, the road bridge, which was showing signs of deterioration simply because the suspension part of it was kind of eroding effectively, and they had to re-strengthen that, and they had to sort of somehow blow air into it to make it better. I mean, bridges inevitably are not going to last forever, are they?
No, of course not. And I'm well aware of the Forth Road Bridge that you're talking about. It was being built while I was at school in the area. And there were concerns then about the longevity of the bridge, and modern bridge maintenance techniques have picked that out. So bridges are, particularly over water, are very susceptible to meteorological conditions in the form of rust.
Yeah. Exactly right. Captain John, great to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Captain John Noble there, maritime salvage expert. And as I say, the thing that I think all of us probably feel at this moment is how incredible that so few people were involved in this terrible disaster, which could have been so much worse. I'm joined now by Emma Woolf. Emma, thank you so much for joining us on the Independent Republic. Good to see you. I think I was just saying to John there, we all kind of woke up this morning and just thought, oh, my God, I've never seen anything like it. It's almost like somebody's filmed it for a movie and it's not real. I mean, I've never seen a bridge collapse in that way before.
It almost looked like the bridge. The footage was absolutely astonishing. And it looked like the bridge was made from matchsticks. And obviously close up, you see, it's a huge structure.
Right.
But it looked just, it sort of just toppled into the sea. I mean, I think what I was feeling was actually, it's amazing this stuff doesn't happen more often. It really stops you in its tracks when it does. But these kind of man-made stroke natural event disasters, why are they not, you know, I mean, really, it's so frightening. And when you look up, I mean, you mentioned the Forth Bridge there. I don't know if you know Hammersmith Bridge in London.
Yeah, I do.
Which has literally, I mean, if you look too close at that bridge, you would never cross it again.
Right.
OK, it doesn't carry the amount of cargo and freight.
You can't go across it anymore, can you?
No, exactly. But, I mean, how long they've been trying to patch it up and put bits back together. It really is frightening. And as you say, how amazing that there wasn't more loss of life on this.
Well, the thing that worries me slightly is, I mean, I don't do it so much anymore, but I used to drive that route an awful lot from New York down to Washington, D.C. And there are road bridges constantly crossing over the, you know, Maryland, Delaware, you know, as you get into Virginia, because, you know, it's a very, you know, sort of dodgy coastline. It doesn't go in a straight line. And, I mean, I wonder how many other bridges there are. I mean, he was just saying there that the Baltimore authorities would be responsible for maintaining that bridge. But inevitably, bridges get old, like the Forth Bridge, as I say, and Hammersmith Bridge. With time, they just get worn out. And, you know, I'm about to go to America tomorrow, and I'll be getting off at JFK Airport. I'll be taking what is now called the RF Kennedy Bridge, which connects sort of Manhattan and the Bronx to Long Island. And that's a very high, tall bridge. And I'll be going,
very tall
I hope we
bridges.
get across this quick. I'll be telling the guy to put his foot down, because it's human nature, isn't it?
I know, and we don't know anything about bridge maintenance.
No,
but
nothing.
Clearly this is absolutely crucial. And so much of it is underwater. I mean, I know this is not the same, but I was cycling over London Bridge tonight to come here, and I was looking over at Tower Bridge, which, again, looks beautiful, but as this does. I mean, this bridge looks beautiful in that footage, but very kind of quite fragile. And you think, what's under the water here? You know, these columns. How can this have been toppled by a boat by a large ship going into it? It's really,
It's the kind of thing that the mere mortals who have got no idea about marine engineering, I mean, we just don't know.
It's a bit like planes. You just don't want to know about the engines and the, you know, when was the last time they were checked, and has the pilot taken a breathalyzer test?
I mean, one of the things they're saying about this particular bridge is that the concrete sort of stanchions that would normally be quite high up above the water level on this particular bridge would not. And so, normally speaking, if a boat did hit the stanchion of the bridge, it would sort of hit a concrete base.
Yeah.
This one apparently didn't, so effectively just knocked it out, which is extraordinary. And the other thing they're saying is that because the ships are so big now, you heard John say they're 400 metres long.
They're getting bigger, and the bridges are still built from decades ago.
This bridge was built in 1977. If you look at that picture there, the boat. This is live drone helicopter footage. The ship actually looks bigger than the bridge.
It does. You wonder how that's even going to try and
That's another thing about cruise ships that really bothers me. I mean, I remember being in Naples once, and this cruise ship came in, and it was so big.
So huge.
It just didn't look like it was seaworthy. It looked like if you were in a storm in that thing, it's just going to tip over. Because it's about sort of 15 stories high, 20 stories high. And you think, that can't be right.
Yeah, and they've been talking about the impact this is going to have on the port here, and on the massive impact it's going to have on the economy, as well as the huge disruption to people.
Yeah,
it's going to take a while to rebuild this. I know Biden has been.
And there was a great.
I was going to say speaking, but actually sort of slurring his words. He's been talking about how it's going to be rebuilt, and they're going to pay for all of it, and he seems to be a bit obsessed.
He did also manage to say that he'd been over that bridge many times on the train. Unfortunately, it's a road bridge.
Yeah, where does that come from?
Well, I think he
doesn't seem like a well man. From what he was saying tonight, he really doesn't seem to have improved, actually.
No, I don't think he has.